Welcome back, students. We will continue our topic of cervical erosion. We also call it as a cervical ectropion. And we have seen in our last video what is cervical erosion and what are its types. Today we will see its etiology, clinical features, diagnosis, and how we can manage. Here the gynecological infographic is there. We can see causes we have discussed, but in the short review, it is seen in young girls. It is seen in those women who are on hormonal pills. It may be a genetic predisposition. It may be as a consequences of infection, chronic cervicitis, during pregnancy, mechanical and chemical irritations. Chronic irritations may cause erosions. See, this is a normal cervix and how it looks, the reddened area around the ears, it's an ectropion. Now we can see exact position. See, this is the uterus, this is the histological os and entering into vagina. So this is the cervix. Now we can see innermost endothelial, endocervical epitheliums are lined here, and external ectocervix is this one, where we can see the squamous epithelium in histology actually. This is fallopian tube and this is ovary. So we will see one by one clinical features, how a woman is presented or a girl is presented. Most of the patients have no complaints at all. You should remember this. During speculum examination, we find it accidentally, or it can be associated with following symptomatology. This may be seen, there may be excessive mucoid vaginal discharge. Now, if it is superadded with infection, it may become mucopurulent also. And rarely it may be blood stained, which may be seen due to congestions. So, this gives brown intermenstrual discharge. If it is occasionally denuded area bleeds, then there may be slight postcoital bleeding. So, we have to investigate. This is important, which is also seen in CA cervix and many other conditions like senile vaginitis. So postcoital bleeding is an important symptom which we should not miss. If we get this, we should evaluate her properly, whether it is in perimenopause, postmenopause, or reproductive age group of women. So it can be seen during pregnancy. Slight bleeding can be seen. Most of the time it is considered as abortion, but we have to rule out properly. Examination and investigations, USG and all will guide you that what is exactly the picture. So it could be a case of early pregnancy bleeding or antepartum hemorrhage, which is seen after 28 weeks of pregnancy. Sometimes it causes pain during or after cervical screening. And we also see deep dyspareunia is one of the symptoms. Sometimes we may also see low back ache. So during pregnancy, why bleeds easily because of excessive vascularity. So this is all about the clinical presentation. Now we will focus more on Nabothian cyst. What exactly is the Nabothian cyst? Nabothian cysts are tiny cysts filled with mucus that is secreted by cervical glands which are formed on the surface of cervix. These are the cysts. We call it as a Nabothian. Sometimes these tiny bumps, which are called cervical cysts, they look like a mucinous retention cyst or epithelial cyst. Nabothian cysts are very common, but they aren't a threat to health. They aren't a sign of cervical cancer. Means we should not worry much because it may heal easily. Now, what are the symptoms of Nabothian cyst? It may be more or like erosions. Nabothian cysts range in size from a few millimeters to 4 centimeters in diameter. They are smooth, appear white or yellow in color. These cysts don't cause pain, discomfort, or other symptoms, but they may cause bleeding between periods, unusual discharge, or pelvic pain too. How will you diagnose the Nabothian cyst? Or here we will see the combined diagnosis, how we can diagnose the cervical erosion. This is usually diagnosed by speculum examination or routine pelvic examination. See, this is the examination done in the lithotomy position. Woman is lying in the lithotomy position. This can be screened and diagnosed during normal pelvic examination. Now, what exactly we can do here? When raised reddened area around the external os is visualized by perspicuum examination. When it is associated with cervicitis, we feel, this is a digital examination, bimanual, we feel fibrosed bulkiness of the Naboth follicles. We can also see on perspicuum examination a mucoid discharge which is emitting out of the cervix. Erosion is soft and bleeds easily on swabbing. Suppose we want to take swab, it bleeds easily. Next important is sometimes it can be seen on ultrasound, MRI or CT scan. But most important is erosion can be understood by swabbing. Then next is important is a colposcopy, where a small tissue sampling can also be collected for biopsy. So after discovering these small white bumps on cervix, the doctor may break a cyst to confirm the diagnosis or may use a colposcopy and send the tissue for histological studies to make an accurate diagnosis. We will have to rule out CA cervix, these dysplastic cells over here, and also we will perform the pap smear too. How the colposcopy? See the instrument colposcope. A gynecologist, usually a trained gynecologist or colposcopist, do this examination in lithotomy, this position, where the leg support is given and the things are visualized in the monitor. This is a colposcope. Now this involves magnifying the area to distinguish Nabothian cyst from other types of bumps. So this is the colposcopic visualization through colposcope. This is an instrument. Now a doctor may take a biopsy of a cyst if they suspect that the patient might have any type of neoplasia affecting mucus production. This condition is also called as an adenoma malignum. It is very rare and is not a cause for concern. Now, differential diagnosis. Before coming to the proper diagnosis, we will have to differentiate always. It may look like syphilitic ulcer also. It may look like tuberculosis of cervix, where we can see an undermined edges of the cervix, blueness and slowing in and roof. So tuberculous ulcers, syphilitic ulcers, we know how they look. And also we have to differentiate it from carcinoma in situ, that is stage 0 cancer or carcinoma cervix proper, invasive one. So on proper histological examination and further bacteriological studies will help us to diagnose, differentiate the disease. Coming to the management and treatment of cervical erosion as well as Nabothian cyst. Now, this may be most of the time asymptomatic, which doesn't require any kind of treatment. Now, we see congenital, virginal, not vaginal, virginal in young girls during pregnancy, after delivery, that is postpartum, the women who are on OC pills. The erosion doesn't require any treatment, but follow-up, definitely, they regress on their own. Follow-up is important to rule out other pathologies. So, this Nabothian cyst overall is a benign condition, require no treatment. In rare cases, it may become large and distort in shape and size of the cervix. If it is severe, it can make a routine cervical examination difficult or even impossible. That is alarming symptom. In this case, we can recommend removal of cyst in order to examine the cervix. These examinations can ensure reproductive health and help the doctor identify problems with cervix early. See, for any disease, we will first give medicinal help. If medicine is responding, it is well and good. And if medicine is not helping in a few cases, then we have to think for other treatment modalities. We have got very good medicine options in homeopathy, which we will be discussing later. Here, if it is not responding in few number of cases, Nabothian cysts that need treatment can be removed through following modalities are available in allied science, that is excision, electrocautery, that is ablation of through the diathermy cauterization, cryotherapy, cryosurgery, and laser. This is important. And conization operations are also performed. What exactly done in diathermy cauterization? In this, the tissues of the cervix are coagulated, the columnar epithelium is destroyed, the raw area is on portio vaginalis gets healed. This after the diathermy ablation, the area heals in 8 weeks, which then get covered by squamous epithelium. So endocervical cauterization requires cervical dilatation and general anesthesia. We should also know what exactly a procedure is performed, how it is performed. Even if we are not going to perform, our patient, we will have to advise, refer the patient and explain them properly. Then complications in these cases may be secondary hemorrhage. Next is a cryosurgery. This is an alternate option for the diathermy cauterization. The refrigerants used here are, see, this already is discussed here. Here the scalpel is used in excision, electrocautery ablation, I have already discussed. Heat is generated by electric current which is flowing over the cyst and it removes the purpose of cyst. In cryotherapy, these freezing agents are used, that is carbon dioxide minus 78 degrees centigrade. Freon is also used, which is minus 81 degrees centigrade. Here the nitrous oxide minus 88 degrees centigrade and nitrogen minus 86 degrees centigrade. It is safer to avoid burns in vagina and is painless. This is more superior than this. It avoids burning sensation, burns, and it is a painless therapy. So under cusco-speculum without anesthesia, it's an OPD procedure. Cryoprobe is applied on external os. Freezing system is turned on and off, and after 5 minutes, the area epithelializes and heals in about 6 weeks. So what is the disadvantage of cryotherapy? There is a copious discharge per vagina. It causes potassium loss through extensive destruction of tissues. So patient should be advised to take plenty of fruit juice and potassium salts. Before that, one important new modality, that is laser, which is not mentioned here. It is more important. You should know laser therapy, which is performed nowadays. It has replaced both the procedures, electrocautery and cryotherapy. But exactly then, it is healed. Laser causes healing in 4 weeks. And what is the advantage of it? The precision of excision or burning of tissues, absence of infections and hemorrhage. Okay, there is no infection, rare chances, and no hemorrhage. But it is an expensive. Okay. So this is all about the treatment modalities which we can refer, and we should also make understand the patient what procedure is going to perform. Thank you, students. See you again.